You did not sit down one day and rationally decide what you wanted from life. Your wants arrived gradually, absorbed from the world around you, picked up from the people and images and messages that surrounded you before you were old enough to question any of it. The things you now chase feel like your own deep desires, but trace them back and you find they came from somewhere, seeped in from your environment, installed before you ever examined them. What feels like authentic wanting is often just absorption, the quiet uptake of desires that belong to others first. A strange emptiness sometimes hits you, even when things are going well. You achieve the thing you were chasing, reach the milestone you worked for, and instead of the fulfillment you expected, you feel a flat confusion, a sense of "is this it?" This emptiness is a clue, and it points to something important. If achieving a goal leaves you hollow, the goal may never have been truly yours, may have been a borrowed desire that could not satisfy you because it did not come from your actual self. The disappointment of getting what you chased and feeling nothing is the sign of a race you were running for someone else. A French thinker named René Girard spent his life studying human desire, and what he discovered explains all of this. Girard found that humans rarely want things on their own, independently from some pure inner source. Instead, we want what we see others wanting. We look around at what the people near us desire, and we copy those desires, absorbing them as our own, without realizing we are imitating. Girard called this mimetic desire, meaning desire based on imitation, and his insight was radical. The wanting itself, the very thing you assume is most personal and internal, is actually copied from the people and world around you, usually before you ever stop to examine it. This means something heavy for the goals driving your life. Much of what you chase was never chosen by you. It was absorbed, copied from the desires you saw around you, installed by forces you never examined. Your parents wanted certain things for you, and you absorbed those wants as your own. Your peers valued certain achievements, and you began valuing them too. Your industry defined success in a particular way, and you adopted that definition without question. The algorithm feeding you content kept showing you certain lives to envy, and you started wanting those lives. Piece by piece, your ambitions were assembled from the outside, and you have been mistaking this assembled wanting for your true self. The specific sources that programmed your desires are worth naming, because naming them helps you see them. Your parents, who wanted you to pursue paths that made sense to them, transmitting their hopes and fears into your ambitions. Your peers, whose choices and values you absorbed through the simple pressure of wanting to belong. Your industry or field, which handed you a ready-made definition of success and status that you adopted without designing it yourself. And now the algorithm, feeding you an endless stream of curated lives and possessions to envy, manufacturing desires in you through sheer repetition. Each of these programmed wants into you, and together they built the race you are currently running, a race someone else designed. You are caught in a trap, and now you can see it. You are running hard, pouring your energy into a pursuit, measuring yourself by how fast you are moving toward the goal. But you never asked the prior question, the one that actually matters. Whose goal is this? Whose race are you running? You have been so focused on running fast that you never checked whether you were even on the right track, whether the finish line you are sprinting toward is one you actually want to reach. All your speed and effort mean nothing if the race itself was never yours. because winning a race you did not choose leaves you exactly as empty as losing it. This question has to come before all the others. You cannot build the life you truly want if you do not even know what you truly want. And right now, buried under all the absorbed and borrowed desires, your authentic wants are hidden even from yourself. Before you can chase the right things, you have to figure out which of your current desires are genuinely yours and which were installed by your environment. This is the work almost no one does, because it requires questioning ambitions that feel fundamental, examining wants you have never examined, and admitting that some of what has driven you was never chosen. But without this work, you are just running faster in a direction you never picked. The reason so many people feel lost is not because life hid all possible paths from them. It is because they keep circling options mentally while refusing to touch them physically. In the mind, everything can remain perfect. A business idea never meets a customer. A fitness goal never meets hunger. A creative dream never meets the ugly first draft. A new career never meets study, rejection, or competition. Mental exploration protects the ego because nothing gets judged yet. The man can still believe he might be brilliant at everything because he has not let the world test anything. This is a comfortable prison. It feels thoughtful. It feels strategic. It even feels mature to keep considering every possible direction. Yet years can disappear while he stays loyal to possibility and avoids evidence. Life does not open for the man who only thinks about doors. At some point, his hand has to touch the handle. Nobody is born knowing the exact work that will carry the weight of his life. A child does not enter the world with a finished map. He learns through contact, friction, mistake, curiosity, imitation, failure, correction, hunger, boredom, interest, and repeated attempts. Somewhere along the way, one thing starts holding his attention differently. It may not feel magical. It may simply keep returning. The work frustrates him, but he respects himself after doing it. The skill embarrasses him, but he wants to improve. The field exposes him, yet something in him leans closer instead of walking away. That is the signal many people miss, because they expected purpose to feel like constant excitement. Purpose often begins as a problem you cannot stop respecting. It sticks because it demands something from you that your weaker life could never provide. But you will never discover that from the couch, human civilization itself was built by experimentation, not certainty. The first wheel was not waiting inside a perfect plan. Fire was not mastered by people who refused danger. Tools, farming, ships, medicine, electricity, engines, computers, cities, and everything surrounding your modern life came from human beings testing, adjusting, failing, observing, and trying again. The world you live in is the result of people touching reality instead of worshipping theory. That should humble a man who refuses to experiment with his own life. He enjoys the products of ancient risk while treating a career change, a skill attempt, a project, a workout plan, or a new discipline like the universe owes him a guarantee first. What makes you so special that you should receive certainty without contact? Your ancestors had to test the world to build civilization. You have to test your life to build yourself. The mind wants certainty before action because certainty feels safe. It wants to know which path will work, which decision will pay, which skill will matter, which business will succeed, which identity will fit, which sacrifice will be worth it. That hunger for certainty sounds intelligent, but it can become a form of cowardice. Some answers only appear after movement. A man cannot know whether sales fits him until he faces rejection. He cannot know whether writing belongs to him until he sits with the page after the easy ideas die. He cannot know whether leadership suits him until responsibility begins weighing on his back. He cannot know whether a craft is serious until he has stayed with it past the first humiliation. The experiment is not a delay from purpose. The experiment is the method by which purpose stops being fantasy and starts becoming evidence. A proper experiment has rules, or it becomes another excuse for drifting. You cannot claim to be testing a path because you touched it for 3 days and left when it stopped entertaining you. That is not discovery, that is grazing. Choose a field and give it enough time to speak. 30 days may reveal whether your interest was fake. 90 days may reveal whether the work has enough weight to continue. 6 months may reveal whether the path can carry more of your life. During that period, stop demanding emotional fireworks. Measure contact, measure effort, measure improvement. Measure what the work does to your self-respect after the discomfort passes. A serious experiment is not random movement. It is disciplined contact with one possibility long enough for reality to return information. Without that discipline, you are not searching. You are escaping commitment through variety. The fear of choosing wrong keeps many men from choosing anything, which is one of the most expensive mistakes a person can make. A wrong experiment still gives data. It teaches what drains you, what exposes you, what bores you for the wrong reasons, what skills you lack, what environments you cannot respect, what standards you are not ready to hold. That information has value if you use it cleanly. Doing nothing gives almost nothing back. It only preserves confusion while making the man older. A dead path can still sharpen judgment. A failed attempt can still build courage. A rejected offer can still teach communication. A project that does not become the final road can still reveal the next road with more accuracy. A man obsessed with avoiding wasted effort often wastes years, avoiding the very effort that would have taught him where to go. A deeper problem sits under the refusal to experiment. Identity pride. A man does not want to be seen beginning. He wants to appear already formed. He wants to skip the beginner stage because the beginner stage does not match the version of himself he has been protecting in his head. Starting a new skill makes him clumsy. Entering a new field makes him ordinary. Trying something publicly makes him available for judgment. So he waits. He studies from a distance. He tells himself he is preparing. He keeps the image clean by avoiding the dirt. That is not greatness. That is vanity wearing patience as a mask. A man who cannot tolerate being bad at something has no right to complain that he has not found his path. Every real path begins by reducing the ego. The doorway is low on purpose. Bow, enter, and learn. The practical move is simple. Build a season of controlled trials. Pick 3 serious possibilities, not 20 fantasies. Give each one a defined window, a clear output, and a real standard. If you think you might want to write, produce pages instead of admiring writers. If business calls you, make offers and speak to customers instead of designing logos in your head. If fitness, coaching, design, coding, teaching, trading, filmmaking, public speaking, or any craft pulls at you, stop flirting and set a test that creates evidence. Keep notes after each session, not emotional nonsense. Hard observations. Did the work sharpen you? Did you avoid it? Which part felt meaningful after the discomfort? Which skill gap kept appearing? Which pursuit made your old life look smaller? Clarity is not found by sitting in a fog and begging for a sign. It is built by collecting evidence from contact. A psychiatrist named Anthony Storr proposed a simple test that cuts straight through this confusion, and it works like a blade. Take anything you are pursuing, any goal driving your life, and ask one question about it. If this were guaranteed to me tomorrow, handed to me completely, but no one would ever know I had it, no one would ever see it or acknowledge it, would I still want it? That is the entire test. You imagine achieving the thing in total secrecy, with no audience, no recognition, no one aware of it but you, and you ask whether the wanting survives. The question seems almost too simple, but its power is enormous. Here is what the question exposes. It separates the pursuits that are truly for you from the pursuits that are secretly for an audience. If you would still want the thing, even in total secrecy, even if no one ever knew, then the desire is genuine, rooted in something real inside you, valuable to you for its own sake. But if the wanting collapses the moment you remove the audience, if the goal loses all its appeal, once no one can see you achieve it, then the pursuit was never really for you at all. It was performance, a thing you chased only for how it would look to others, and the secrecy strips away its disguise instantly. The result, when men run their ambitions through this filter honestly, is startling. Most discover that a large portion of what they are chasing simply collapses without an observer. Goal after goal, examined under the condition of total secrecy, loses its appeal, revealing itself as something wanted only for the recognition it would bring. Half their ambitions or more turn out to be performance, hollow the moment the audience is removed. This is a disturbing thing to find, that so much of your striving was secretly for show, but it is also liberating, because it finally lets you see which pursuits were real and which were theater. You were performing at great cost. The surviving pursuits tell you something important about yourself. The goals that pass the test, the ones you would still want even in complete secrecy with no one ever knowing, are the ones that are genuinely yours, rooted in your actual values rather than your desire for recognition. These are the pursuits actually worth your life, the ones that would fulfill you, regardless of whether anyone witnessed them, the ones connected to who you really are rather than how you want to appear. Whatever survives the filter of total secrecy has proven itself authentic, and these authentic pursuits are where your real energy belongs, because they will satisfy you in a way the performance never could. The pursuits that fail the test have a nature worth seeing clearly, because seeing it frees you from them. The goals that collapse without an observer are theater, performance staged for an audience, and they share three brutal qualities. They are expensive, costing you enormous effort and sacrifice. They are exhausting, draining you through the endless need for recognition, and they are ultimately hollow, incapable of truly fulfilling you, because they were never about your own fulfillment in the first place. You have been paying a heavy price for these performances, spending your limited life and energy on pursuits that give nothing back, and the only reason you continued was that you could not see them for what they were. This filter could reclaim an enormous amount of your life. Every pursuit that fails the test is one you could abandon, freeing the time, energy, and sacrifice you were pouring into performance for the goals that actually matter. Picture what you could accomplish if you stopped chasing the hollow, audience-driven ambitions and redirected all of that force toward the pursuits that survived the secrecy test. The exhaustion of performing would lift. The dissatisfaction of chasing recognition would fade, and your energy, no longer scattered across theater, would concentrate on the authentic goals capable of genuinely fulfilling you. The filter does not just reveal truth. It liberates resources currently trapped in performance. The test is meant to be applied, not just agreed with. Take each significant thing you are pursuing, one at a time, and run it through the question honestly. Picture achieving it in total secrecy, no one ever knowing, and feel whether the desire remains or collapses. Be brutal, because the temptation to pretend a performance goal is authentic will be strong. The pursuits that survive, keep and prioritize. The ones that collapse, name as theater and begin releasing. This simple examination, applied across all your ambitions, will show you clearly which parts of your striving are real and which have been performance all along.
Take 1 hour today and stop lying politely to yourself. Not a dramatic life audit, not a motivational ritual, not another moment where you write down perfect answers because they sound impressive. Sit somewhere quiet and ask the question with no decoration. If I keep moving in this exact direction for the next 10 years, will I arrive somewhere I actually want to be? Not somewhere acceptable. Not somewhere people can understand. Not somewhere that looks fine from the outside, while your private life feels like a compromise. Somewhere you would respect. Somewhere your body, mind, money, character, relationships, and spirit could stand without shame. That question is dangerous because it does not ask whether you are busy. It does not ask whether you are trying. It does not care whether you have excuses that make sense. It only asks whether the current road deserves another decade of your life. A man often avoids this question because he already knows the answer. He can feel it in the heaviness before work, in the lack of fire after another wasted evening, in the quiet disgust that appears when he breaks the same promise again. He knows when the body is being taken in the wrong direction. He knows when the job is eating too much of him without building leverage. He knows when the relationship is built on fear, habit, or loneliness instead of truth. He knows when the dream has become a decoration instead of a duty. The problem is not always confusion. Often the problem is that honesty would demand movement, and movement would disturb the life he has learned to tolerate, so he stays vague. Vague pain is easier to live with than specific responsibility. Once the direction is named, delay becomes harder to defend. 10 years feels distant when spoken casually, but the distance is deceptive. 10 years is not some foreign country waiting beyond imagination. It is made of mornings like this one, evenings like the one you had yesterday. Small meals, small choices, small refusals, small permissions, small betrayals, small acts of discipline, repeated until they become a life with your name on it. The future does not arrive as a stranger. It arrives wearing the face of your current habits, older and less forgiving. If your days are currently moving toward weakness, 10 years will not rescue you by accident. If your attention is scattered now, it will not magically become sharp because you aged. If your courage is unused now, it will not become loyal when the stakes rise. Time does not correct direction. It multiplies it. Direction matters more than speed because speed on the wrong road only delivers ruin faster. A man can work hard inside a life that is still pointed away from his real aim. He can be disciplined in a job that drains the skill he should be building. He can be loyal to people who keep his standards low. He can be productive at maintaining a version of himself he privately despises. That is the cruel part. Effort alone is not enough if effort is being spent defending the wrong structure. Before a man demands more intensity, he should ask whether intensity is serving the right destination. If the answer is no, then working harder may only deepen the trap. A wrong direction handled efficiently still leads to a wrong arrival. The road must be corrected before the engine is praised. The mind resists trajectory thinking because it strips away fantasy. Fantasy says a dramatic change will appear later, when the timing is cleaner, when energy is higher, when confidence is stronger, when the right opportunity finally knocks with enough force. Trajectory thinking is colder. It says the future is already being built by what receives repeated attention. It looks at the calendar, not the speech. It looks at spending, not intention. It looks at the body, not the excuse. It looks at completed work, not ambition. This is why one honest hour can unsettle a man more than months of vague motivation. He stops asking what he hopes will happen and starts asking what the current pattern is already producing.